Hello, this is Brian again. So, I was all the way out, quite a ways out there. Now I'm back on the other side, heading towards the visitor center. And we're starting to get into the forested area now. If you remember from one of the earlier clips, there's the two-headed big-cone Douglas fir that I was basically just ogling. My eyes were just ogling how big that trunk was. Incredible. And we got a big Jeffrey pine over here. So yep, we're back in the forest. So I went out a little bit further than I did last time, which was cool. It's kind of nice. And we got some old pavement here. Guess they made an embankment out of this, I guess. Maybe when they built the highway. But now we're getting down into the forest. It's getting very lush over here. So most of the stretch back will be pretty shady. And there's that big cone Douglas fir right there. Beautiful. And this is where it gets very lush. So I like coming over here. Got a nice incense cedar here. And we got a huge pine. I'm trying to figure out if it's a coulter pine, Jeffrey pine. This is a big one. This is a big tree. It's got a very big trunk on it. It's a pretty big tree. There are a couple of very tall coulter pines in this area, believe it or not, that can match height with some of these Jeffreys. I can't tell from here yet. I think it's a Jeffrey pine, but it could be a coulter too. You do get some pretty tall coulters in this area. Trying to see if I see any cones on the tree. It's definitely not a ponderosa. It's grayish green needles. Give it away more as a Jeffrey or a coulter. You know, a lot of Jeffrey pine type cones at the bottom. Yeah, I think it's a Jeffrey pine. Wow, quite an impressive specimen. Oh, boy. Yeah. So I've done video on this side of the canyon before. But it was a non-narrative one where I was just walking. I remember seeing a nice big cone Douglas fir in here too. There's a pretty nice one up ahead. It's kind of leaning a little bit. It's a pretty tall one too. Coming up on it. It's just on the other side here. There we go. See a tree that's got a leaning trunk? That's a leaning big cone Douglas fir right there. It's probably about 120, 130 feet tall, which is pretty good for a big cone. For a Pseudotsuga macrocarpa, that's a pretty decent size. Beautiful tree. I've seen this tree before. I always love seeing it when I'm here. I got some girthier incense cedars. No humongous incense cedars here. There's some decent sized ones. So this is another area that I highly, or think extremely highly of. And earlier, there's the old chimney, as you can't really see it too well on camera, but that was the chimney site when I came down from 5698. Just up there. Like I say, it's not super high above us. They're probably about 400 feet above us. At first I thought this was a hollyleaf cherry. It's a canyon live oak, of course. That'd be kind of cool. I mean, we are a little above 5,000 feet, maybe about 5,200, 5,300 feet. So it could still be possible to find hollyleaf cherry. And I was on that side during one of the previous clips when I came down from 5698. But hey, you look on this side, it's a mixture of sugar pine and big cone Douglas fir. See, those are big cones, those are sugar pine. It used to, yeah, I remember there used to be a huge incense cedar there. The incense cedars don't seem to do as well here for some reason. I mean, the younger ones are in pretty decent shape, but a lot of the older ones don't seem to, I guess they've aged out or something, maybe, I don't know. But look at that, I love that side right there. It's just hard to walk on that side because it's covered in loose soil. Okay, this is the one annoying part, is scrambling over the rock here, or scrambling over the log. It's not that bad, but just watch your step. I mean, for the most part, this is pretty followable. Sometimes you'll see a little trail in the middle of this. This must have been a really old Forest Service road. And there they are, the magnificent big cone Douglas firs. Beautiful trees. And we do have some pretty big coulter pines, like I was telling you. That's a coulter pine right there. It's not a Jeffrey pine. Looks more like, I mean, looks shape-wise, it's definitely coulter pine in shape. And now across the canyon there, that tall one right there, that's a coulter pine as well. That's not a Jeffrey pine. So, get some pretty decent sized ones here. That's what another thing I like about this area. Some of these coulter pines are, I think some of these coulter pines are actually taller than these smaller sugar pines. There are not really a lot of huge sugar pines over here. A few moderately sized ones, but there might be a couple coulter pines here that might actually be taller. That's not something you really think of. These coulter pines are usually much shorter than sugar pines. If you go to the San Bernardino Mountains, your sugar pines are quite a bit larger. San Bernardino Mountains and San Jacinto Mountains, their sugar pines get quite large there. It smells so good over here too. Just think about Chilao Canyon, it just smells so incredible. There's that beautiful big cone Douglas fir right there. Beautiful trees. There are not a lot of sugar pines here. Most of these are big cone Douglas firs, but now there are some sugar pines mixing in. Yeah, that right there, that big tree right there, that's a coulter pine. That is a coulter pine. I am not lying to you. So yeah, I mean, I think the reason why the coulter pines get so big over here is because of the canyon environment. Canyon environment usually allows trees to get more access to water, so they can get bigger and lusher, which is kind of neat. It's always nice coming down here. This is, I think the third time I've been down in this area. And it's always a delight coming over here. The last time this was a non-narrative video. Wow. But yeah, I mean, some of these coulter pines are nice and narrow like Jeffrey's. Wow, man. Love this area. That's why I come over here repeatedly. Had a nice mellow peak climb, nice easy descent. Walked along Chilao Creek, out by that. And I would say it's more of a wash than a meadow, but it does have some meadow-like qualities. Oh yeah, a little canyon live oak sprouting out in the middle of a willow thicket. There's a really nice sized big cone Douglas fir over there. So you got a really tall, narrow coulter pine. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's actually a coulter pine. And then you got a big cone Douglas fir over there. It's pretty sizable. I don't know if there's a way to get over to that side. There's a pretty big incense cedar over there too. So you do get some large incense cedars, but it seems like they've kind of died out, a lot of the larger ones. But yeah, these are some very impressive big cone Douglas firs. Some of these, I know I talk about Palomar Mountain, especially the area by Fry Creek Campground, having some of the tallest, but some of these ones here are pretty close to that as well, if I really think about it. Some of these are actually some of the tallest big cone Douglas firs I've ever seen too. So they kind of match size more or less with the Fry Creek Campground, Cleveland National Forest, Palomar Mountain trees. Some of them. Got a nice, really tall willow thicket over here. I wonder what that is. I wonder if I can get to it without having to jump down a ravine. Wow, it's alright. I don't think it's an arroyo willow. Might be another species. I mean, arroyo willows can get that size. I've seen them before. Usually these guys are kind of shrubby thickets in the mountains, but I've seen them get to tree size in the lowlands. Sometimes they can get quite large. I've seen them get up to about 30 feet tall. Not super common. Oh, poor canyon live oak broke in half. Yeah, this was not here the last time I was here. But it's just, coming out here just gives you a peaceful vibe. Gives me a break from all the craziness going on right now. Had some things go down this week. Kind of set my vacation back a little bit. So I'm glad I went out today, at least get out. Ooh, here's a nice interior live oak thicket. Ooh. Oh, this is a nice one. Quercus wislezeni verdifrucescens. It's a nice thicket right here. This one's been aged for a while without a lot of disturbance. It's a nice thicket of it. Of course, predominantly the ones here are shrubs. Quercus wislezeni verdifrucescens is our typical type. There's a nice beautiful rock outcrop. Got a big chaparral yucca and a healthy male western fence lizard. So, you're talking about wildlife on hikes. I don't usually get a lot of real big wildlife captures. Honestly, it's probably because I talk too much. I do talk a lot. Because I'm, pointing out plants and scenes and, go here, go there. But every now and then I get lucky. Like on top of a little small peak above the San Juan Trail Blue Jay Campground. Got that gopher snake. That was a good capture. The water, the reservoir pond on top of Waterman Mountain last August, where saw all the juvenile western toad metamorphs. That was an incredible sight. was wondering if we'd be lucky enough to find any Baja tree frogs over here. This might be a place to find Baja or California tree frogs. This time of day is probably not the best, but I remember when I was a kid, I used to see Baja tree frogs in San Clemente Canyon in San Diego, near Claremont and University City. They'd have these little rivulets in the middle where the creek flows. During the winter and spring, it flows like crazy during the rainy season, and in the spring it starts drying up into puddles. And I used to see lots of Baja tree frogs as a kid, and I haven't been able to see those ever since. Of course, when I was a kid, I was a huge herpetology, I wouldn't say herpetology expert, but enthusiast. I loved studying, reptiles and amphibians. That's what herpetology deals with. Kind of lumps the reptiles and amphibians together. So as a kid, I'd get excited when I'd see a gopher snake. Only once when I was a kid did I ever see a rattlesnake. Only once as a kid. Believe it or not, I have seen many more rattlesnakes in my 30s. So right now I'm 38, going to be 39 in early June. That'll be my 39th birthday. But I lived here, grew up here in Southern California. I grew up until age 12 in San Diego. Then moved out in 7th grade when I was 12 to live in Orange County. And that's where I kind of slowly, got out of hiking and prancing around canyons, so there weren't as many nearby. Sorry if it was a little hard to hear. Then I would, get interested in different things. Always loved trees, always have, always will. And my backyard in Anaheim, right next to the border of Buena Park. Actually, I used to get lizards in my yard, western fence and alligator lizards, which was pretty cool. But wasn't as enthusiastic, of course. You live in more of a suburban environment without a lot of beautiful open space parks. So then graduated high school, did a couple years in community college, and then moved out to New Jersey with my family in my early 20s. Lived there till I was 30. Moved back here when I was 30. I've been here back in SoCal. I live in Orange County, just a couple miles from where I lived. I've been here ever since. And ever since coming back, that's when I've seen the most amount of rattlesnakes I've ever seen in my life. Lots of, I've seen them a couple times here in the San Gabriels, a couple times in the lowlands. So, just interesting how that works out. It really is. And ever since I started going more out in nature and doing more stuff, especially doing more of the longer walks and hikes, I get to see a lot more because I get more of a chance to the longer I'm out hiking. Well, that's going to conclude it for this clip. I'm going to pick up what I'm talking about in the next clip, so I don't run out of time on my camera. I only get 20 minutes. So in the next clip, I'll pick up where I left off, talking about my encounters with wildlife. So I'll see you on the next clip.